Congratulations on your Catastrophic Creations cat purchase. Today we're going to go over some tips and tricks for a successful install and for the best end result. Let's get to it. So the key to the successful install, first and foremost, is your prep work. So determining what wall you're going to go on, we're going to be working on this wall here. And then also take into account what other obstacles you may have. You may have a door that swings open, like we have our bedroom door here, windows, different furniture, things of certain heights that they need to be. Also take into account your animal itself. Do you have an older animal or perhaps a disabled animal? For example, we have a three-legged cat and we also have another cat with a deformed paw. So we're going to do things a little differently to adjust for them, but take into account for your animal first and then we'll go from there. Now, when you're looking at your wall, all of the mounts are going to go into the wooden studs themselves. So you need to really determine where those are first and foremost and then begin your alignment from there. Now you may be asking, what is this I'm holding here? Just a simple stud finder. If you don't have one of these, okay, I'll show you exactly what to do exactly after this, but it's very simple. You just run along your wall, wherever it lights up is where your stud is, and you can easily go back, mark with a pencil, marker, whatever it is, and go from there. You can even use your tape measure to go over. Usually studs are 16 inches on center. You can kind of, they're not always perfect, but you can find exactly where it is from there. Now, if you look down, we have two outlets. There's always going to be a stud on one side or the other typically, unless it was remodeled, and that's going to be a totally different scenario. But if you do a simple knock test on one side or the other, you'll either hear a hollow sound or a little more solid sound. That'll determine where your stud is and where you can go from there, determine your layout, and get everything situated and spaced accordingly. So we're going to go to the next step, and we'll show you how we're going to go in for actually laying out our pieces and get it up on the wall. Let's do it. So the first thing that we're going to start with is the step feeder planter for our particular application. Now this will be the most straightforward, easy to install. If you can do this, you can install every other single piece from Catastrophic Creations. They just get a little bit more challenging as you go to lay everything out. But the first thing you need to do, go ahead and check over your manual, check out all the parts that are going to be needed to install this particular application. For example, we're going to have our mounting base. In this particular one, we're having our step. We'll have our hardware, which would be a longer screw and two other flush fit screws. We'll have two of our Allen bolts that'll go into the top of our step. And then also provided is you have a drill bit, you'll need a drill. And there's also another one, we have a Phillips, and you have your Allen key on this side. Now these two pieces I won't be using because I have my own stuff that I have here. However, if you don't, you can easily use this as a drill or set this up on your screwdriver. There's also provided level. Definitely use this to keep everything dialed in exactly where you want it to go. Like I said before, you could use your stud finder. For example, here we don't have an outlet. We have one over here on the wall that we can measure over. I've already pre-marked this just for the ease of install, but I can go ahead and show you that anyway. So your first step you need to do is to go ahead and find exactly where your stud is. I have a line set here already. For example, this guy will just go right up here. You want a line, there's two holes that will go with the two flush fit screws. And these are going to be a little bit the shorter versions, and you'll also have a longer button head Phillips screw. This screw is for the pocket hole on the bottom of the mount. So that'll easily just slide into there. As you can see, it'll pop through and it'll be concealed and it'll drill right into the wall. From there, these other two screws will be corresponding to the two top holes. So let's get started on that action first. So we already know that this is going to be level for myself. But easily I'll show you anyway. Go ahead and put this level on your mount. We'll find exactly where your stud is and just find that bubble right to where it's level, and boom, there we are. I've already marked it from there. You can go ahead and grab your pencil, run it right across the top. So here we go, I'm going to jam in here. I'm going to go ahead and put my Phillips screw on first, which is going to be the pocket for the pocket hole in the bottom. Now, I like to do this one first because this is going to hold the weight from flexing on the bottom. So go ahead and get it lined up exactly where we want it to be. I'm going to duck underneath here real quick. Now the key to this is to not torque everything in place just yet. I want to get it and tighten it up just a little bit loose so we have a little bit of play. Now for these two top holes, you're going to want to align them and center them up into that stud as much as possible. You don't want to shoot it off into the side of the drywall. It's not going to be strong enough. So I'm going to go ahead and run a couple pilot holes into here, into my 2x4. That is going to be the most difficult part of the entire thing. So if you can do that, you got it down pat. So we're going to go ahead and run those top screws in and get them lined up. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten the top all the way. And tighten the bottom. Now you've got a sturdy foundation. Go ahead and blow the rest of that dust off. You're going to go ahead and line your step. There's going to be 2 index keys. Drop them right on top. And from here, you have your little Allen bolts, and you can go ahead and finger tighten them on first. And then go ahead and take your Allen key, and just tighten those babies down. Now the key to this is don't over tighten it. You want it to be just snug, but don't try to get loose rigging on this thing and crank it down because you're going to strip the threads out. So we'll just keep going down, tighten that bad boy up nice and snug. You'll start to hear the wood just maybe slightly start to feel the stress of that. Stop there. And that is going to be the install of the step. First step done, let's go to the next. So for our next piece that we're going to install, this will go for the lift and also for the play. So these are going to be 2 different kind of types that play off one another. Now you can see I've already put 2 of the mounting there already on there. We've already seen how to, you can refer back to the step to see how that is done. But to go ahead and fast forward here, this piece we're going to start playing with some canvas and steps. I've already pre-installed the steps, easily just put the index screws and screw them on, super easy breezy. Now to go from here, we'll go ahead and lift this top off. We'll go ahead and slip these grommets over these index spots here, and we'll set our top plate on over the top. I'm just going to very lightly hand put these on real quick. Now to figure out your spacing for the canvas, for the mounting bracket that's right here by my shoulder, I'm going to show you how to do that very, very simply. This is how. So if you hook one side on like I'm doing here, just in a loose fashion, or if you're by yourself, or if you have a second set of hands, that makes everything a lot easier as well. So we've already got that on there. So once if you hold this up, you can kind of hook this on beforehand, and this will give you an idea. If you're doing this without this mounted on, hook it on, get it to one on the wall, that way you can see how tight you want it or loose you want it. Now this canvas will stretch a little bit as your cat jumps on it in place. Go ahead and set your top on it, and there we go. So that's going to be the first part for the lift and the play portion. Now we're going to go ahead and shooting another piece over here. I have not put this mounting, I've already pre-drilled this. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off real quick and get that going. I'm going to show you that now. So if we were to be installing this next hammock portion, you'll take your canvas piece with the sewed hem down, go ahead and hook that grommet onto those 2 index pins on top, and I'll very, very lightly put those bolts back on real quick just to hold it in place since I'm doing this solo. What you can do is go ahead and hook these 2 guys onto your grommets. Figure out your spacing for your next step. So for me, I've already pre-drilled this and exactly where I need to go. That's where you go and put your top plate on and you'll be good to go. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and take this back off, get this next mount installed, and get it all up on the wall. Switch sides here. Get our pocket screw on the bottom. Is it sturdy? Now we go ahead and bring that canvas piece over, realign it where we need to go, slap on that top piece. Get those screws on. Now, if this is going to be the lift, you would stop here after you put your screws on. We're going to keep going and bring this around for the play version. So I'm going to go ahead and take this guy back off. Tighten these down, so I'm done on this side. So for our next lift portion for the play, we're going to take another 3 grommet piece, same thing. On this one, we're going to flip the hem portion in because we're going to hook it up. So we're going to go ahead and do the same exact process again. Hook that guy on, get our top, get our 2 Allen bolts, and just finger tighten those on to hold it where we need to be so we can figure out the next mounting. Yeah, same exact thing. Now, when we bring this up, we're going to want this to wrap over the top. So we'll go ahead and hook that to the back side. We'll see here in a second. And then we would flip it up to find our next stud location. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just set this here for just a second because I have not done this yet. Get ourselves lined up exactly where our stud is. Mark our top. I like to mark my top holes as well so I know how to pre-drill where they are. Now if you have your stud finder, this is where it's going to come in handy. You can go back over, double check exactly where you're at and you're right lined up where we need to be. Switch back to my drill. Get these guys pre-drilled. Put my top plate there. Switch sides here so I don't block the camera. So go ahead and lift this into position where we need to be. Now, I'm tall enough I can see up here, but you probably need a step ladder or something along those lines depending on where you're going with the height of this. Okay, so at this point at the game, we have installed all of the support beams onto the 2x4s. At this point, if you were just doing your hammock, you would have this piece here. We're doing the play version, so it's going to have an extended piece of canvas shooting up to the top with the wood support and 2 more pieces of canvas shooting around. I've just went ahead and stacked my top plates here along with my screws just to make it a little bit easier since I'm working alone, and I've got my Allen key as well. So at this point in the stage here, we're going to go ahead and we'll double over. Well, first and foremost, this piece will be a 3 grommet canvas. This guy, this will also be a 3 grommet canvas, which will come over the top, and we'll go ahead and just hook these into your upper support beam over the top of your Allen bolt keys there. Now, before I put on this piece of wood, now this piece of wood will get installed keyed in location on the top there. You want to make sure that your grooved rings are on top. This will be the grip for your cat to jump through. You also have your 4 holes at the corners, which will align with your key tabs for your Allen bolts there. Now, before I put that on, you're going to have to go ahead and put on your next canvas piece because this will get installed over the top. So we're going to go ahead and put this guy on here. Now, before I jump too far ahead, I just want to go ahead and describe really quickly with the spacing of this. The best way to do this is to have both, before you install these on, go ahead and have your 2x4s marked where you need to go. Go ahead and align these key tabs with your pieces. That way you know exactly the spacing and what they need to be. Now every wall is going to be a little different. Some walls won't be exactly flat. You're going to have to work with it. You may have to shimmy these over just a little bit to pop them in place. That's not a problem. Everything's going to get locked in tight once it's all tightened down. So let me go ahead and jump real quick and get everything aligned in place. And we'll keep jamming along here. So if you aligned everything as best as you could on the wall, it should be about that easy to pop in place. Now I'm just going to go ahead and hand tighten these down, and I'll move on and I'll discuss about the canvas here in just a second. Let me just put 2 in here just to hold it in place. So if we had not had this next brace here on the wall, the best way to go about it would be to go ahead and hook it on the bottom, bring it over to where you need it to be, and just kind of line it out and mark your top and make sure your stud is aligned out where it needs to be. Now, you may have issues like how I did on this wall, where there actually is not a 2x4 in this location at all. My next 2x4 is about 3 to 4 inches over here. So what I ended up having to do was using a couple drywall toggles. Now this isn't the best option to do. However, if you don't have any other option, it's best to get the metal version that swips out, and we'll put a photo of that at the end. I want to do because that will give you the best grip behind. Try to get 2 of them in and use some kind of adhesive, what I like to do, on the back sides of these wood facing the wall. Put a little bit there just so at least it'll grip in and it'll cure within about 24 hours. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and drape this over. We'll do the same exact thing here. Just like that, easy breezy. So once it's already screwed on, you can go ahead and put that guy on. Now your next piece is going to be the same, which I actually forgot to mention. This also has 5 grommets running across. This is the same exact size piece. Now, I did the hem along the bottom, that way it's nice and smooth. Now in this version, since it's on the outside, we're going to do the hem facing this way, so it'll be a nice smooth look on the outside. Now we're going to go ahead and put this on as well. And what I'll do is I'll get one of my blocks. Same thing here, we'll go ahead and put an Allen key in just to hold it in place. While I go ahead and wrap it around. Let me get 2 of these and hand tighten. Get my ladder. And this looks a lot more difficult than it is, but just like anything in life, it's all about your prep work and your planning will determine your success at the end. So that's where we have that guy. Now this guy's going to wrap up. You'll have 1 space grommet spaced out. This next 2 grommets here will hook to the top. Like that. And we'll just go ahead and carry it over to the very end. So the same procedure as far as spacing goes. If you were doing these verticals, will be to go ahead and tighten this, hand tighten this down, pull this up as much as you can, not too tight, because it's going to want to pull down on the wood when you're trying to screw it into your supports. So just get it kind of, nice and tight, but not too tight. Hook it in place, go ahead and do your marks, get it screwed in place, and then the same thing, we would go ahead and put this support on, bring it over. I do have a 2x4 here in this location. Do your marks, get it screwed in place, and then we can easily just drape it over. So from here, it's just a matter of simply topping these guys off, and then popping in all of the top of your Allen keys. And that is it as far as this goes. Looks very difficult, but it's very eye-catching once it's on there. It does require a little bit of planning, but it's really not that difficult. Take your time, make sure to make your marks on your wall, make sure things are level, drop your levels on each one of your mounts when you're doing that to ensure that's going to come in place really well. And then your caps will absolutely love this. This will start to give a little, and then be able to relax nice comfortably along each one of those. Now once you're done with this, go back and just make sure, hand tighten each of these down, just to the point right where the wood starts to just slowly crack, and you'll be all good to go. Alright, so from where we were before, we had our canvas shooting up here and running around there. What I've added on here, we had an extra hammock version here, which we just inverted and flipped the other way. And this just goes to show the modularity of all the Catastrophic Creations products. So you can mix and match and do things whatever you want. It doesn't have to be exactly how it's sold if you really want to get creative. For our space in particular, as mentioned prior, we have a 3-legged cat and a cat with a deformed paw. But our bed goes here, so we wanted to have something soft for them to be able to jump down on, or in the event that they did fall off, they'd have something soft to fall on. So this is kind of how we arranged it in our particular setup. Our next step that we're going to do here is going to be the sisal pole. So the sisal pole is comprised of 3 sisals, and you have your spacers in between, as well as 3 threaded portions of bolt. Now, I've already pre-assembled this just for the sake of convenience for the video, but what I will show is how to go ahead and put those together. So it's very simple. You literally just thread it into the top portion. You have whatever your stained wood spacer. Just go ahead and drop that guy down on top. Now, both sides, there's really no way, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. They're both threaded the same exact way. So just align that up. What I like to do is get it on the ground, just get it lightly going. Be careful. Exactly, don't do that. Be careful not to cross thread them. Just let this should flow very, very easily as you're threading this down onto the top of this. Now, as you start to hear the sizzle, a little bit of that friction, that noise there, you can know you're getting a little bit tighter. Now, you want these to be snug because this is going to be stacked on the wall, and you don't want it to be wobbling for your cat. So the best thing to do, honestly, I like to just go ahead and grip it either between my legs and get it kind of very hand tight like this. You can also tighten the spacers themselves. And as you tell, this was pulling the system on top, and then you can tighten from here. Now, on our particular application, we're using all 3 sissels. You can do 1 sissel, you can do 2 sissels, you can do 3 sissels. You choose. This is the great thing about the product. So from here, we go ahead and tighten it down. We'll continue to tighten that down once we get our bases on. Now what I want to show you is, you have your bases. You have a top plate. Well, this would be a bottom plate for this particular way that we're going. We're going to shoot this way. And you have a top plate. Both of them do have a little grip pad on the top. So if your cat wants to jump on the top, there's something to sit on, and won't slip off. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this bottom plate. Everything fits on the same exact way. So we went ahead and connected our canvases. Once again, you can always sandwich over and combine multiple pieces together to create your desired finished product. I'm going to set this off to the side here. Let me grab a couple of my bolts and my Allen here. And we'll just go ahead and line these bolts up right on top. So this will go ahead and lock in our canvas here, which is a little hammock piece and walk across piece to get onto the sissel itself. For the sake of this, I like to do everything just hand tight before you get everything dialed in. That just helps you from putting any stress on the wood, possible cracks or anything along those lines. You just get this down, just snug, not too tight. There we go. Now, included with this as well, you're still going to have your open ends here for bolts. Now, there is a little indent for your circle. That guy will sit right in there, and that's how it's going to fit in. Now, there is a provided larger Allen bolt as well as a chrome Allen key that would be perfect for this to fit into. So we're going to go ahead and also get that aligned, drop it in, just get it going hand tight. Again, everything here is hand tight. Now, from here, if you have not already attached this pole or this base here for the sissel pole, the best thing to do is go ahead and align those keys if this were not attached. And I like to go ahead and run your bolt through the top. So imagine I was holding this on and we were threading this in and this was not already bolted to the wall. We could then get everything aligned appropriately into the sissel pole index holes that are routed there. Now from there, you could use your provided level, set it on top where you need it to be, and adjust over on the wall to where this is going to be a level and you're aligned with your stud. Now for here, just for the sake of demonstration, you can see the light is lit up. We're already aligned with our studs, top and bottom, so we're structurally sound. So from here, you would go ahead, then pop that back off, screw your top piece on to make sure that everything is structurally sound. And then you could come back, as you can tell, you can come back and hold this bottom, you can hold the spacer, tighten everything down nice and snug. You want this to be as safe as possible for your cat and your animals and their family members, just like everybody else. So you want to make sure everything's all good. So from here, I've already tightened this down. I know that everything's golden, so I can go ahead and just hand tighten that. And then you just take your 2 remaining Allens for your top and go ahead and screw those guys on. Tighten it down. So from here, like I said, just doing everything by hand gives you that little bit of extra play to get everything aligned exactly how you want it to, and then tighten it down from there. So from here, we've got it all in. We can go ahead and just snug it all down. Like I said, just right, you start to hear that just a little subtle bit of wood crack, not too tight. And then now we'll go in there. And of course, don't forget to tighten your tops and bottoms. And then now you get a full-fledged Catastrophic Creations playground for your cats, playground for you run around on. There we go there. So as you can tell, there's a lot of modularity to everything that's going on here. You can get it just as a hammock. You can flip it upside down, do it the opposite way, make a little trapezoidal table. They can jump up here, jump up there, jump across. That is the cool thing about this product. If you have any questions, feel free to email Catastrophic Creations about any mounting solutions. Hopefully this helped you out for everything that you needed. Just remember, preparation is everything, and that will be the key to success for installing everything. Hope you enjoy it. Have a great one. We'll see you soon.